everybody, this is your host Sandhya and I welcome you all to a Traveler's Touch. I have with me Mrs. Jayashree Ravi, who is an interpersonal life skills trainer and she has mastered the art of meditation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, not just that, she has also cracked the formula of living the life successfully by being just happy. Hello ma'am. Ma'am, you say by being just happy, it's not as simple as it sounds. I mean, a lot of people have so many desires and which is not fulfilled. So how can somebody be happy?
We are advocating something like you just need to be happy in order for anything that you wish to happen in life to happen. So happiness is a precondition, whereas we are looking at it the other way. That is, we are trying to have our desires fulfilled or our needs fulfilled to even be happy. So I think that's the basic misconception in life which needs to be addressed, and that is what comes with a lot of training and practice as well. I'm just hoping that people are, they need to get familiar with this concept that being happy is a precondition to attract whatever you want in life.
Okay, and I think this is what we are going to talk about today. Can you please introduce the first topic, ma'am?
Yeah, this is about needs and desires.
So ma'am, on that note, I would like to ask you, is there any limit for a man's desire?
His breath is his limit. Like, as long as he lives, definitely every man has his desires. We have the conception that, misconception I should say, these desires are endless. Even what we need to achieve at the end of life, or at least by the end of life, is that man when he takes his last breath, he should have no desires. So it has been totally misunderstood. Why do we have a desire? Imagine if you wake up one morning and you have absolutely nothing to look forward to, or you have no desires absolutely. Then what happens? So you don't know, like one day can pass that way, or a couple of days with having nothing to do, nothing to look forward to, not knowing what you're going to do for the next couple of days is fine. But if you're not going to know what you're going to do for the rest of your life, slowly that is when you get into your depression. Why we have a desire is, when we have something, we look forward. Okay, today we have this shoot. You would have prepared for it. You'll look forward to, okay, today so many episodes I'm going to finish, or so many minutes I'm going to shoot. And you plan your day accordingly. And then tomorrow this is how I'm going to do it. Okay, the end of all this is how we are going to complete all our slots. And you have a vision, this is going to come on whatever your CD or YouTube or whatever it is. But you plan accordingly and you're looking forward to it. Suppose you had nothing to do today. How would your life would have been? See, that is what we need to think, because we have a desire so that we have something to do and we enjoy that process. We are trying to experience something. So when that desire is fulfilled, suppose you had enjoyed the journey, that is when you want to have one more desire. Why? You want to once again experience that journey of fulfilling the desire. Because what happens is, we wait, we have a desire, we want to fulfill it, and we think, okay, this is going to be a tedious task, I'm going to complete it, and at the end of it, I'm going to be happy.
So ma'am, there's like, whatever we just spoke, it's all about, having a goal or having, day planned or whatever. Desires can be classified in two things, wants and needs. So how can we, differentiate there? How do we know what do we want and what do we really need?
See, we have been taught the basic needs of man. That is food, shelter, clothing. Right? And we feel, okay, these are some basic things every man should have. Now, every man, depending upon the economic status, you can say, okay, he needs this kind of a house, this kind of food, and this kind of a clothing. And we judge, okay, now you're wearing this kind of a dress, but for your economic status, this looks like a luxury. So we are judging. We are trying to compare him with people of the same economic strata, and we decide what his basic needs should be.
Who are we here? Society, as in?
Right. Everyone. Like you go onto the road, you see someone, okay, and somebody or Somebody comes to meet you and they're asking you for some assistance, saying, I need something for, I'm joining a course but I'm short of money, something. And he's wearing a shirt, say, you feel it is really, that shirt must have cost you 3,000. If you had money to spend on that, how come you didn't save for your education? True. So we judge, you're having something which is extravagant, more than what your actual basic needs are. Right. So every minute we are judging the others as to what their basic needs should be.
Okay, so whatever we need, it already exists?
All right, that is what we want people to understand. That is the bigger picture, you can say. Everything that we need already exists. What does it mean? People think, okay, fine, then it's already existing here. So they imagine that it must be existing somewhere physically. I mean, you go look for it, you'll find it. It's almost like people are looking for some hidden treasure. What we need to understand is, once you think of something, you're creating it in that future. And that future needs to become your reality. How do you reach that plane of reality? That is what all of us are working towards. What you need to understand is, the moment I think I want something, that means it is possible to get it. So that is why I even have thought about it. And the moment I think about it, it's created in the future. How long it's going to take for me to reach it is a different question. And it also depends on what I want. It could be something which takes a pretty long time to reach. And you'll find most of the inventions and discoveries, how they are made is, they get a random thought. And that thought, the person knows, or the scientist knows it's true, because that thought must have reached him from some plane of reality. So what he does is, he tries to understand what this is. This is a new concept, but since I've thought about it, it definitely has to be true. So how is it true? How do I take it forth to the people? How do I make them understand that this scientific concept is true? So what happens is, then they work around it. Now when they are calm, when a person is calm, it's very easy to understand how to reach that reality. It's only when we are very stressed out, things become tough, and we get, trying to think how it works, how can this be logically, true, how is it possible? We go into all these types of questions, and that is when it gives rise to a doubt. And once you get the doubt, you can be dead sure 99% you will not reach that reality.
Correct. Ma'am, on that note, let me also ask you about the natural resources, where a lot of people say that, you save water, save electricity, save petrol, because your next generation wouldn't be able to drive, which I think is a nice thing. But anyway, so do you think there is always something existing in the future for the humankind to survive? So even if there is no petrol, there would be something else, discovered.
Just rewind maybe 100 or 150 years back, how we used to travel. At that point of time, we wouldn't have thought, okay, we'll be going by, say now you're able to drive even like 160 kilometer speed even in India, right, when you go on the highways. And just think, 100 years back, would you have thought about it? All that was something like we don't even think about it. Actually, one interesting incident, now I have a book release, The Magical Scroll, and we were just talking to the agency who was supposed to help us with this release. We had to approach 1 or 2 bookshops, and it's a self-published book. So the general book launch happens in a bookstore. They said only if it's a publication doing it, they would be able to release it. So we had no choice but to think something else. So this person came up with a plan saying, let us have it in a particular fashion, which is quite different from the regular book launches. So there was one question I asked her, why did you suggest me this? She said, again she went into that reason, no, because I'm telling you ma'am, I checked the bookstore, they will not. I said, because you were forced. The bookstore refused to have your launch, and that is how you came into thinking, okay, how else to get it done. So the same with the natural resources. See, when we think one particular natural resource is going to get exhausted, instead of panicking, suppose we are able to calm down and think, there must be some other way. There must be some other resource.
So ma'am, you're saying that you needn't panic, you can waste as much as water you want. There is something else in the future waiting for you.
No, I'm not talking about wasting water. That is different. What do you mean by wasting water? Whatever you're using again goes back to the soil. And again you're going to get the same thing as your underground water resources.
Right.
So how do you think we are losing out on water?
Basically
What we
a
think
cycle.
is we haven't yet found the sufficient resources of drinking water. Haven't yet found out how much more we need. See, basically all this happened because distribution of the population. See, earlier when the whole thing was created, man was not supposed to live in such huge concentrations. You take a drive, say a 400 kilometer drive or just 200 kilometer drive, you think there is absolutely no land with the required water resources, say between Chennai and Bangalore?
No, I don't think so.
So even there are places where you have sufficient resources, but it's not inhabited. In the sense, we are trying to concentrate in the metro cities and towns or areas where it's highly concentrated. There's a density of population is very high, such that the resources that is available there is insufficient to be distributed. So that is why now we have all these bottled waters coming up. Suppose we had to go and relocate ourselves in the other areas, where is all this water coming from? It will be just outside Chennai, the drinking water resources. So the distribution of the population, this is not how it was originally planned.
So basically you're saying that there's actually no wastage of anything. It's just a cycle where it will come back again to you.
Definitely.
All the
because
natural resources are basically
matter cannot be destroyed.
Beautiful. Alright ladies and gentlemen, on that note we have come to an end of our today's topic. Well, if you have any doubts or questions, you can leave it as a comment below this video. We'll try to solve it as soon as possible. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to stay connected to some interesting tips from Mrs. Jayashree Ravi.